Being a substitute teacher has been one of the best improv trainings I have had. In this video, I will share some of the scenarios that happen in the classroom as a substitute teacher that has helped me with my improv. Hi, I am Viviana. Welcome to my channel where I share my journey as an actress. The challenges, the bookings, the lessons, and everything in between. So I started substitute teaching because I was looking for a job that was going to be flexible for me to continue to pursue acting. And then I also do other jobs that are flexible that you're welcome to watch in another video. However, talking about substitute teaching, once I started substitute teaching, I didn't realize how much improv it would take. First, I'm gonna share a few scenarios to explain how this has helped me with my improv skills. First, you walk in the classroom and you gotta be prepared for anything. Sometimes, so as soon as you walk in the classroom, you don't know what to expect, similar to when you go to an improv audition room. You don't know what you're gonna expect. You just kind of have to be ready for whatever is thrown at you, right? Okay, so I go in the classroom. I have to quickly find the lesson plans, read them, and then the students walk in the class, and I have to adjust to every single need that kids have, and I have to adjust the lesson plans to whatever is happening in that day. A lot of the times, there are students that finish things very quickly, and then there isn't anything else that the teacher has left for them to do. So then I have to make something up on the spot and give them another task so that they stay on task and they don't disrupt the class. Because a lot of the times when children are done with a task, if they don't have something else to do, like almost immediately, then they start playing and it just starts becoming distracting for everybody else. So they finish something and then they're like, what else do I do? In that time, I look through the lesson plans. I'm like, oh, there is nothing here. In my mind, I'm like, there's nothing else here. So then I make something up. I'm like, okay, right. For example, one day I had to do it because it was becoming a little distracting. And I was like, all right, you know what? What you're gonna do is tell me everything about that happened in your break. What did you eat? Who did you play with? If you had fun, where did you play? What was the setting? Was it cold? Was it hot? And I just had to keep going over details and details because I would tell them, I would give them directions and they would go and then they would come back to me and say, okay, I'm done. What else do I do? I'm like, well, did you color it? I'm like, no. I'm like, wait, you forgot what you ate. So write what you ate. Draw what you ate. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, is that all you ate? I saw you eating something else. Like, oh, okay. So it's pretty much this back and forth that happens in the classroom. And that has helped me a lot with my improv skills. Another scenario is when students need help with a specific topic and a specific question. And for the most part, I can help them. However, when it comes to advanced math or chemistry or things like that in middle school or high school, that is not my what is it called? My forte, my strength. And I remember I did all those things in school, and once I was done with the test, I would forget all about it. So some students, they come and they ask me questions, and then immediately I have to come up with an answer, a solution. So in this scenario, I go into, okay, who has done this? I go and I ask the whole class, who has finished these problems? And who is willing to help their students or work in teams? And usually there is very helpful students who don't mind helping their classmates. So a few of them, excuse me, a few of them raise their hands, and then boom, I pair them up, and then they start working together. And then I just say, do the best you can. When you teach, work with your partners as much as you can. And when your teacher is back, your teacher will be able to help you more with this math problems or chemistry problems. So I'm thinking of other scenarios. Another scenario sometimes is when the lesson plan I'm reading the lesson plan and something doesn't make sense to me, and I read it over and over and over again. And then I even ask the aide sometimes. Some classrooms have an aide, which is very helpful, by the way. But that's not the point. The point is that sometimes there is an aide, and I even go ahead and I ask them, I'm like, do you understand these directions? Because I don't, sometimes it's not very clear for me. It's very rare. Your teachers are very thorough for the most part. But sometimes I read through something, and no matter how many times I read it, it doesn't make sense. So if it doesn't make sense to me, I know it's not going to make sense to the kids. So in that scenario, again, I have to figure out a solution. And the solution for me usually is skip that question, jump to the next question, and we'll go back to that. And if you cannot figure that out, if we cannot figure this out, you guys are gonna ask your teacher. That's it. And of course, in order to do this, just like in improv, you have to be able to listen, right? So I have developed these listening skills because if I don't listen to the students, I'm not gonna be able to really be there for them or help them in the way that they need to be helped. So just like in improv, I have developed this listening skills so that I know exactly what they're telling me. I pay attention to them, and then that's how I know how to move forward in whatever they need, whether they need to resolve an issue that they're having with another classmate, or like sometimes that happens a lot in elementary, by the way. Or if they need help with some type of issue that they don't understand the assignment, or so I just listen to them and then boom, jump to help them. Sometimes when I walk in the classroom and I do the approach that I have been trained to introduce myself and introduce the lesson plans to the children, sometimes the classroom has a different style. And when there is an aide there, sometimes I go in the classroom and I do it my way, and then they adjust, they tell me to readjust it because the kids are used to doing it a different way. So there we go again. There is improv to practice there, where they tell me something to do it, boop, I immediately switch it. There was an example one time where I had to ask them a question about something that we read, and then what I have learned is that everyone that's going to talk is going to raise their hand before they talk, so that not everybody's talking at the same time. So I was doing that and it wasn't working. So then the aide told me, oh, usually their teacher asks a question and everybody answers her at the same time. Okay, so I didn't know that, but immediately she told me that, and I was like, oh, okay. Then I asked the question and I was like, okay, everybody, this is the question. Everybody go ahead and answer. And I had to switch immediately. Another scenario is when students start getting very distracted and then everything starts getting a little bit chaotic. I have to jump with a solution immediately. And sometimes I'm like, all right, I think about it. I'm like, oh, it's brain break. Everyone, Simon says to be quiet and we will play brain break. And everybody, almost all students know what Simon Says is. So then they do that. I get them, I'm able to get them to quiet down. And then I'm like, okay, everybody in the carpet, we're going to play this brain game. It's usually some type of dance game on the monitor. And then everyone comes in and then we start doing that. So that helps them get on their brain break, quiet down, and then enjoy a little break. Something that sometimes happens too is when I'm in a classroom and then the technology doesn't work. So everything has to work and I have to be able to be ready before the class comes, or before they come from their break, or before we get inside the classroom, so that, because as we all know, structure helps kids stay focused for the most part. So sometimes when I'm in the classroom and something happens with the technology that I wasn't expecting, I have to come up with plan B. There was a time where I went to the classroom and I really could not figure out how to find the teacher's slides to save my life. I read I was able to find everything except for the slides, and that's a big deal. So I was like, okay, the class is about to get here. What do I do? I went to the phone, called somebody. By the time I called, nobody came. By the time the students were in the classroom, still nobody came. So I was like, okay, we gotta figure something out. So I just grabbed the book that the teacher left for me to read to them. Everything was supposed to be on the slides as well, because they wanna, it's more visual for them. But their book was pretty big, so I was like, well, I cannot wait for them to come, so I'm just gonna grab the book and we're all gonna sit in the carpet and read. So I had all the students sit in the carpet, introduce myself, we started reading, and everybody was able to be engaged. Fortunately, just a few minutes later, somebody from admin came and they did whatever they needed to do on that monitor to get me the slides. But, not having the slides and did not stop us from continuing the class. That's my point. I had to improv something, and we just started reading a book, participating without getting distracted by the fact that the screen was not working, or it was working. I just didn't know how to make it work. As you probably can see already, there's a lot of adapting that happens, just like in improv situations, adapting to different classrooms, adapting to different technology, adapting to different age groups of students and different moods of students, different questions, different personalities, all at once. It requires you to adapt immediately. So in a way, I am very thankful for having the opportunity to be a substitute teacher, because it consistently works my improv muscles. And the more they're working, how I'm probably getting better. So I am thankful for substitute teaching as a way in real life to work my improv muscles. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to continue to follow me on my journey as an actress, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.